Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of College Football UK podcast brought to you by the AAW Network. I am your host, Fletch, and as always, I am joined by my number one co-host, is Gary. How are you, sir? Did you have a lovely Christmas?
I did. Thank you for the building me up there as number one co-host because
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's
I'm
you
only
just
saying
saying
that
that
because
because
Nick
I'm
and Sam
here.
aren't here.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's what I figured. Yeah, lovely Christmas, nice and calm, nice and collected, and nice and peaceful. Yourself?
Yeah, I had a lovely, lovely Christmas. Thank you. I've had two, so we had the normal Christmas, and then little Fletch turned up, and we did Christmas number two, and that was really, really nice. Just got to sit there and watch my daughter watch her open her presents. Um, While we're here, though, and you might be, if you're on YouTube, you see another very different face. What we thought was we'd have some actual playoff representation on this podcast. So no Nick right now. Instead, we've got someone who actually made the playoffs. Their team actually did make the tournament.
Yeah.
In Jimmy from Canes across the pond, my friend. Number one, how are you? Number two, how was your Christmas? And number three, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Why the Miami Hurricanes, and where can people find you?
Yeah, nice one. Cheers, Fletch. Yeah, nice to see you both. Hi, Gary. Yeah, Christmas number one was fine. Yeah, really good. Obviously, a nice time of year, Christmas. Looking forward to New Year as well. Number two was why I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. I think you said, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty
Um,
much.
why not? It's all about the U. Just seeing the swagger, all the history that comes with the U. Really cool place to be. Historically, I've been more of an NFL fan, but the last couple of years, I've kind of found myself falling into college football and really just I probably watch more college football now than I do actually like English football. To be fair, just love it.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're coming onto the zone this year as well. It's just made it even better, especially those Saturdays. I love those Saturday afternoons, Saturday evenings now. Just switching the zone on 5 o'clock and just watching it through till till bedtime, or
Yeah.
start going to having a little nap and then watching something early in the morning. But yeah, in terms of Miami Hurricanes, yeah, just everything about them. Just thinking back to that kind of old, 20 odd years ago. Looking back, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the U, ESPN 30 the U. If you haven't, watch it. It's great. It's on
What a
Netflix, but
team!
on it.
What a
Yeah,
team!
yeah. So just looking
Even
back to
I'm
that.
saying, and that's hard for me to say, but my God, that team that you had back then was just terrifying.
Yeah,
Possibly one of, if not the best teams in college football ever. Just
yeah,
scary. And then you look now, there's still, there's still so many of them. I think are almost they're knocking on the door of the NFL Hall of Fame. It just shows you
yeah,
just how good that squad was,
yeah.
which really hurt me to say.
Yeah, just so good. And like I said, I think just the whole swagger side of it, that swagger that they used to have, and bringing that back, hopefully, is what I'm looking forward to. Um, People can find me, I think, on most social media, Canes across the pond. I think on X, it's actually Canes X the pond because across wouldn't fit on as a username.
Yeah.
So Canes
Yeah,
X the pond on X, or Twitter, as I still call it. But Canes across the pond and everything else. I do have a little bit of a mini blog where I talk about the Canes. And I try and put in a few like college football basics as well, just introductions. I've just done something around bowl games recently. Army Navy game I spoke about, just a little bit about how kind of the college football system works and some of the differences like pitch size and stuff like that and that kind of thing as well. So
God,
yeah,
it's almost that sounds familiar, Fletch. Haven't somebody we know written a little blog about differences between?
I
yeah. Well,
think,
you got to
yeah,
you got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Absolutely. It's a great intro, as you say, what we're trying to do on this pod and what you're doing on yours is, you know, as you mentioned, college football is still very niche. NFL is niche. College football is like a niche step on. And if we can invite new viewers, new guests to the
yeah,
to the party, then you've got to start at the beginning and go, hey, this isn't
Yeah,
the NFL. The reason these are slightly different, Puka's catch would have been fine in college, etc., etc. It's nice to kind of call little things out. Like, as you say, different
yeah,
sizes of pitches, different little nuances. It's important for letting people know that because then they'll be like, oh, I kind of get it now. I understand.
yeah,
And they're not sitting there going, why is that not a catch? Why is that doing? What's
yeah.
different? Yeah.
The amount of times I've watched college football with people who are only into the NFL and they're going, eh?
But, but
That is it. He only got 1 foot in bound. Yeah, because the rule's only 1 foot in
yeah.
college football, and you just
Why
go
did
into
he
it. And
go
it's
down? Nobody touched him. Why has he stopped running? Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. I think it's that thing as well of like obviously they're finely tuned athletes, but it's not necessarily like a finely tuned machine. So like think about like Premier League football, like if you've got Man City or something, the way that they work through a game is flawless at times. Whereas with college football, you see those mistakes, you see those fumbles, you see those explosive plays, you see trick plays and all the
Yeah.
bags of tricks that they pull out, and yeah, it's just so it's just so much fun. It's really enjoyable. So I think that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's important, on that, it's just important that everyone has to remember that it's college football. It's a bunch of kids. They're still
Yeah.
kids. It's not, they're 18 to 21 and that's your max. So, well, but we might go on to some of that age sort of thing in a second.
Yeah. And obviously, as it goes without saying, but please do go and follow Jimmy and other Canes across the pond. And you are right, I did double check. It's Canes X the pond on Twitter. All the links of which will be, as usual, in the description of the episode if you're on YouTube. In fact, I'll tell you where to do all that in a second, but they will be in the description of the episode. You'll get multiple more chances to tell everybody where to find you anyway.
Especially if you've ever seen any of our episodes and you've seen our good friend Paul over at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover, you know full well all you need to do is just keep saying the name all over. Just keep saying it.
So while we are here, though, we're in that weird part where I don't think anyone really knows what day it is, but what we do know is that the college football playoff quarterfinals are in only a couple of days. What we also know is that we're running all the way, and we're about halfway through bowl season. Bowl season's at its peak. I think it's just peaked. Let's face it, a couple of days ago it peaked. But we're about the peak time for bowl games. We're at the New Year's bowl games. We're at the kind of a lot more classic, more historical bowl games. They're all coming up. It's the best time of the year, potentially. It's where the best football tends to be happening. Before we get into it, though, obviously don't forget to follow the AAW network on social media. We made a couple of changes to our social media over the last few weeks at AAW network. Just instead of having individual podcast accounts, we've now gone to a bit more of what tends to follow with things like what we do. You just go, well, there is an account for college football rather than just a college football podcast, an account for NFL. Links in description. If you're on YouTube, they're right below our gorgeous faces. If you are on audio only, go inside the app that you're on and it'll be in there somewhere. All the links will be in the description of the episode where you can follow myself, follow Gary, follow Jimmy and Canes across the pond, and you can follow all the stuff that's going on with the AAW network. With that out the way now, I think we need to get into a bit of news. Nick hasn't turned up. Talking about the playoffs, it was surprised that Notre Dame would turn up.
So who's surprised that Notre Dame didn't turn up, right?
I told you
he comes in with
pod,
he comes charging in now. It's like,
I've got them lined up. I'm just going to keep knocking him down. Some of them I might need Nick to be here for, but I'm just going to keep knocking him down.
Yeah, throwing shade. It's all good. That's what we're here for.
Bit of news from myself. Obviously, my number one piece of news is that the Michigan Wolverines have hired Kyle Whittingham as the head football coach on a 5-year deal, 66 years old. Somehow we have managed to completely blow up the program, look like the worst program in history, stumble and fall and land an absolutely quality head coach. And while we've done it, I don't know how this has managed to happen. It's a 5-year deal. He's expected to bring over defensive coordinator Jay Hill from BYU. BYU have the top 5 ranked defense in the country. They finished one spot behind Notre Dame, who were one spot out of the playoffs. They were very, very close to going to the playoffs. And also to bring over Jason Beck, his OC in Utah. Utah also had, I think, in quite a few stats, they were quite highly ranked within the country in terms of offense. So it's really hard to see. My favorite thing is that running back coach Tony Alford will be retained. He's the one who brought forward guys like Blake Corum, Justice Haynes, who was actually out of everyone at Michigan this year, had a great year. Justice Haynes, and the running back room there. So that's a great hire. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, I'm not going to bang on about it too much right here, right now. I've put an article on the AW website. I've tweeted about it. I think it's a great hire. If any of either of you two want to weigh in on this one while we do it.
It's a good hire for Michigan. I don't want to say it's a safe hire or a sensible hire, but it's not a big splashy, it's not like Lane Kiffin crossing the border and all that sort of stuff. It's it may be, as you say, a sensible sort of time for examining things in Michigan in May a chance to just settle the store, settle down everything, give him a couple of years. He's probably coming in with not much expectation because of all the stuff that's happened, Harbour and Moore and all of the hoo-ha. What you want this year or next year going forward is a nice, sensible, reasonably successful, no drama season.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're going to get with him. And yeah, maybe year 2, 3, and 4, he'll bring some of the stuff across with him, and you'll start to see it really. And as we've said, first year coaches are not going to see. You're not going to see that much difference. But I think culturally is where you need to see the difference with this, and I think that's probably why you've brought him in more than for coaching the players or whatever else. I think it's a culture that you need to rebuild at Michigan, and he's going to build that for you.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think when I was looking at kind of everything that happened and was going on, there was all talk about certain coaches leaving some other big programs to go there. Obviously, that never happened. But
yeah,
like Gary said, then is it a case of they're just trying to kind of resteady the ship, get settled again, and maybe a couple of years' time see where they're at to kind of go again? I think.
Yeah, actually, if I can sum it up, it's not like Gary said, it's not a flashy hire. It's a smart hire. It's a reasonable hire. You're gonna get no nonsense, and I think the thing primarily at this point in time is try and keep as many recruits in the door as possible. You retain Tony Alford. That's likely to retain the 5-star recruit that we've just brought in Savion Highter. And you're trying to keep Bryce Underwood in the building. You're trying to keep a lot of the more high, but a few will leave. That's understand. That's going to happen. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a bit messy, but you want to keep your 5 stars in the building. You want to keep your high 4 stars in the building, and that's keeping as much of the roster together as possible before the transfer portal opens, and then see what the transfer portal can bring you with Kyle Whittingham. The only other couple of bits I did get were it's not a huge piece of depending on if you are a Notre Dame fan or not. Marcus Freeman tweeted out yesterday, 2026, run it back, go Irish. He was the focus of a few NFL positions, primarily the New York Giants. However,
no one in their right mind touching that job with a barge pole.
Well, it was one of them. He was going to go for it, but the NFL rejected his proposal to set his own schedule and have an automatic bid for the playoffs every year. NFL said no, so Marcus Freeman said, "I can't do that. I'm sorry.
I'll do that. I'll stick with a safe bet."
Actually, I'd do this if Nick was here. I'm just going to keep knocking him down while he's not here. But that's a
I had
big
that one lined up
retention
as well, to be honest. Yeah,
that's a big retention for Notre Dame to be able to keep him and stop him from going to the league.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for the Irish. It's probably a good thing for him to kind of spend a bit more time because this year was a weird one for Notre Dame. I think everyone had them doing better than they did, so it was a bit of it didn't quite hit the peaks that I think he wanted it to, and the team wanted. So to go back and say, right, hang on. I mean, is this his one last hurrah? Is it one let's run it back one more year before he then takes another job that he may or may not have discussed and whatever else? I don't know. I mean, it's odd. If you're going to take a job, you take the Giants job because you're getting the number 1 pick. You're going to take a number of your players, you would assume, who would want to then go with you. It would have been I don't see what NFL job is going to be available next year, but hey, it's the NFL. Who knows what's going to happen there? But he's obviously happy at South Bend. He's got, the team around him. He knows what's coming through the system for one more year. Maybe he knows something about next year's, the team that he's got ready to go now that, a number of the seniors and whatever else have declared for the draft. Maybe he's very happy with what's coming through and he thinks this is the one last year. I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, it was an interesting news with all the coaching carousel fun and games that's gone around. It also kind of missed the boat on some of the bigger options that were available. So I kind of think it was either stick or go to the NFL, and obviously he's decided to stay at.
Yeah, I think again it's an interesting one because I know last year, start of this season, sorry, we're really heavily linked to a couple of teams in the NFL as well, wasn't it? So I suppose just see what happens. Maybe they've got a little cupcake schedule next year to get themselves in the playoffs. What is it? If they finish in the top 12, are they guaranteed a spot? I think it is
Guaranteed.
the same. Yeah, so we'll see.
Chip Kelly's gone to Northwestern. That was an interesting move. Obviously, he was sacked by the Raiders a few weeks ago. Won the 2024 Natty with I'm not going to say the name. I'll try to limit it as much
Green,
as
the
obviously
team in
for
green, team in
uh,
green.
no, they won the Natty with that team in
Oh, the other one, the one that you can't see even. Of course, he was OC there, wasn't he? Sorry, yeah. He's
um
also been head coach out west, hasn't he?
he has so I mean Northwestern have what was his name? Was it Pat Fitzgerald? They brought him on board to be their head coach. Pretty sure it was Northwestern who did that, or it was coach of Northwestern before. I don't remember this off the top of my head. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how they get on though.
Mm. It's an interesting one because Northwestern are I wouldn't say they're a big team in the Big Ten. They're kind of one of those, yeah. So it's it's not the high profile place I would have expected him to go with his history and with his, experience and stuff. I would have thought he'd have been higher on the list of some of the more bigger named conferences and bigger name sort of teams. But maybe he's kind of gone, I'm not really looking for a high pressure thing. I'm quite happy to go here and build something and regather myself, much like we've just talked about Michigan and kind of getting a safe hire and a place just to regroup. Maybe that's what Chip Kelly's doing. Just kind of go, hey, I'm going to go here. No pressure, no expectation as such. Northwestern are middle of the pack, right? The middle of the road sort of team. So if he can get them slightly elevated, great.
Yeah,
He's doing a good job, but he's not going to go in there going, you play the horseshoe. You're the number one team, and you must be this constant pressure all the time. Maybe that's why he's gone there. It's a weird one though. I'm quite surprised by it.
I think they're getting a new stadium as well, I think, there, aren't they?
Yeah,
yes,
they're
they
opening
are.
a new stadium.
Fancy
Yeah,
state-of-the-art stadium. It's a big, new, fancy state-of-the-art stadium. I'm not sure how when that's due, but I know the team
I
that
think
kind
they're
of,
opening the season with it. I think.
yeah, looks nice.
I did like watching some of their home games when they're basically on the beach in what looked
Yeah,
like that kind of makeshift stadium. The views
Yeah.
were beautiful. They were really beautiful. And yeah, Northwestern are typically a somewhere around 6-6 team.
yeah.
Sometimes slightly above, sometimes slightly below. You know, the old what's his face meme. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sometimes maybe
And then every
shit.
now and
Yeah.
again they overachieve, go like 10-2 or 9-3 or something, and fade away. But they're typically a middle of the road Big Ten team.
Yeah.
Other than that, I know Gary, did you have something that you wanted to bring to the table for news?
Whoa, Chip Kelly. There's the rumblings, and we talked about it. Diego Pavia, who was the story pretty much of last season in the NCAA and the quarterback pushing for the Heisman and all that sort of stuff. And everyone was kind of like, well, he's had that. We talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago where he's blown his chance at going to the draft, or he's blown his chance for a high draft pick because he opened his mouth and was like, the voters, I'm off to have a party and whatever else. Maybe he's kind of realized his mistake because it sounds like he's asked his solicitors, lawyers, whatever you want to call them, to dig into the fact that he may still have 1 year left of eligibility based around all sorts of connotations of, if you stand on your left foot and the blue moon is out. It's weird to dive into it. I haven't quite had a chance to delve into it, but he is petitioning for 1 more year of eligibility to come back and maybe play 1 more year at college, probably because he's realized his draft stock is probably tanked after the Heisman stuff, but also he's probably been offered a fair bit of money at Vandy to come back with NIL money. So that's an interesting sort of wrinkle that's going through the courts. I think he's using an NBA reference or something. I think, Jimmy, you might have a little bit of an in on that as well. So it seems an interesting one to keep an eye on through the quiet off season.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the full details, but there's an NBA player who's drafted a couple of years ago, I believe, into the NBA. I want to say he's from Greece or somewhere. Didn't actually play in the NBA. He's then gone back to Europe to play in some of the European leagues, and then he's coming back to the college. I want to say he's gone to Purdue, but I could be wrong. And I'm pretty sure that when the article I was reading about this the other day was that when they opened their argument in the court, in the last couple of days with the Diego Pavia stuff, that was kind of the first thing that they referenced. I actually think for some reason his solicitor or lawyer did some kind of poem as well, but have a look. I could be wrong.
Uh,
He wrote a poem about it. Just kind
right.
of,
Parrot just had a quick look, and it seems like they're trying to say that his first year at New Mexico Military Institute shouldn't count
yeah.
because he was redshirted, and therefore it shouldn't count against your eligibility, and it's a military institute. And no. Again, as we've just mentioned, the stars have to align, and this one says that one, and whatever else. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it'll be good for Vandy if he comes back because he's definitely been a character and he's definitely raised the profile. Whether or not it'll be good for his mum's dating, I don't know.
Well, she's already with what's his face now, in Theo Von. So, um, but no, I want to say just mentioning on that basketball point. I know we were speaking about it off camera. I saw something similar, and there was that thing that came out from On3. The owner had to apologize and all that sort of stuff. And someone spoke to the NCAA about that kind of thing happening. And while yes, this is college basketball, and we don't talk about it a lot, we'll dabble every now and again and mention it. I think the aftermath of this has relevance to college football because someone got a quote from someone at the NCAA who essentially said that they're not going to step in if this happens. They're not going to tell anyone no. They're not going to stop anyone who has pro years behind them going and getting college eligibility because they've basically, on the basis of they've been sued that many times as of late. They have been told by every court under the sun. I'm pretty sure there's a court in Mozambique that's told them they don't have jurisdiction there at this point, who keep telling them, no, you can't stop this person. I mean, the latest one was a week or two ago when an Alabama court had said that you can't issue a show cause to the former Tennessee coach for the recruitment violations. Like, they're basically going, we're not even going to try, and we can't tell someone no because we keep getting sent to court for telling someone no. We keep losing it, so we may as well just say, go ahead and do what you want. And the reason I think it's relevant for college football is that entire attitude from the NCAA primarily comes from college football and college football going after the NCAA and saying, you can't tell us what to do. We make billions for you and you can't touch us and the NCAA at this point. So what it means going forward for schools who might kind of do a bit what the SEC might go ahead and do a bit more of what they want remains to be seen. But as it stands right now, it feels like the NCAA is cowering in a corner and just saying, please don't hit us again. Like,
Yeah,
just
enough's
leave us
enough.
alone for a little bit. Do what
The
you go do whatever
NCAA
you
are
want.
Jake Paul at the moment, right?
Yeah, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, and the NCAA are on the knees clinging onto the legs of Anthony Joshua. Which is, by the way, that's one of the I stopped watching boxing quite a while ago, and that's one of the most embarrassing things I have seen out of this sport was Jake Paul on his knees crawling around the ring.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Logan Paul, and he's saying that was his tactic because he realised that obviously because he was fighting up to heavyweight, they were too heavy to kind of stand fit like shoulder to shoulder with. So he just said it was easy to go to his knees.
Yeah. Anyway, we could digress about
Yeah.
the joke that is. Anyway,
Yeah.
we've got Jimmy. We got
digressed on that joke a million times. Yeah. Before
Yeah.
we get into the playoffs though, before we get into the quarterfinals, Nick and I did do, like I say, there some technical problems which we've had a problem with. So last week's episode didn't come out. We've still got another thing that's on its way. Just waiting for a couple more of the stars to align on that one. Before we get into the playoffs, it's bowl season, and as Jimmy has mentioned, but we've had the best part of bowl season. We've had the Pop-Tarts Bowl. There have been some more, and there are some more on the way. We've got the New Year's Six. We've got all the college football playoff quarterfinals. They're all historic bowl games. But we have peaked at the college football season. For me, college football season is now over. Now the Pop-Tarts Bowl has been. What did you think? Number one, what did you think of the game? We'll get the unimportant bit out the way first and say, what did you think of the game?
If the game didn't live up to the Pop Tarts experience, but then can it ever in effect? So I liked it. It was good. Again, it's the playoffs, and I'm not really that invested, so I'm watching it with a let's see what the game's kind of going on. I'm not, it's quite interesting to be watching it without that sort of investment in it. I mean, didn't really. There was no surprises, were there? There were certainly no shocks, no unexpected results. So I'm pretty happy with it. It seems to be making sense. Everything's rolling the way it should. You'd expect it to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think for me that the Pop Tart Bowl is just peak sporting action. Just the build up, even to little details like the sprinkles in the end zone, the sprinkles on the team's
On the
helmet.
helmets.
yeah,
Yeah, it's and then all that the kind of pomp and pageantry that comes with it, like all the different Pop Tarts unboxing themselves at the start and deciding which team sprinkles or team swirls, whatever it was, and then the protein strawberry Pop Tart not going into the toaster at the end and legging it off the back. So
Yeah.
like I think when I've run on my on the blog just about it, it's like, is this going to be start like the Pop Tart cinematic universe? Is it going to turn up at some shadows or whatever? So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, the Canes win the Pop Tart Bowl last year. We lost to Iowa State, I think it was, and all the drama around whether Cam Ward should have played or took himself out of the game and to get his record and all that kind of drama that came with that. So it wasn't necessarily as enjoyable as watching it this time. But yeah, and even like the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl as well. I don't know if you saw that where he managed to he caught the
yeah. He
kickoff
caught the kickoff.
mid interview. Yeah, the
It is
yeah,
it is great to see that, although as we've talked about how much money is involved and the reason for these bowls and everything else is, it certainly helps the coffers for some of these teams and whatever.
yeah,
It is still keeping a little bit of the postseason, spring break, season's over, party atmosphere outside of the main ones. Obviously, there's the
yeah.
main sort of playoff ones which are being dealt with in that sort of very sensible way. But the other ones, you can see that some of these teams have just gone, great, weekend away. We've got a week away in a
Yeah,
bowl game. Let's just go and have a party. And the Pop Tarts Bowl is the ultimate party bowl,
yeah.
isn't it?
And I imagine as well, if you're a college footballer, you're potentially not going to go to the NFL looking at how many people actually make it to pros. Having that last weekend away somewhere with your mates that you've been playing with potentially for a few years, having that big laugh, getting all the free gear, getting treated like royalty when you're there. That
Yeah, so
I
it's
don't think we've
as you
not.
say, it's probably a little taste of what it might be like if you were drafted for some of
Yeah,
those players. So you
yeah,
can't begrudge them that. Yeah,
yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw was it the Boca Rota Beans Bowl, Bush's Beans Bowl as well, and they were
some
saving up
crazy names,
beans
wasn't
out of
it?
of a giant bean
Yeah,
dish. Yeah,
yeah, they were. Yeah,
I
the
mean,
big ladles and just eating beans. It'd be like, oh, so you've just
yeah,
played a game of football. Does anybody want to be doing that? Yeah,
see,
yeah.
I love them. I also love the fact that the Pop Tarts Bowl trophy is a literal toaster. Like
Toaster.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things that I would do to have a trophy that was also a toaster.
yeah.
The
just doesn't get any better,
sacrificing
does
of
it?
them at the end,
Yeah.
quality, but also like the Idaho Potato Bowl where they dunk a massive vat of fries on the coach instead of Gatorade or anything like that is also
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah,
It's yeah,
yeah. They did it with a bad boy mowers ball as well. I think that rather than dumping Gatorade, it was just like grass cuttings on coaches. You just
Just,
it's just like so random.
I mean, there have been. I mean, looking through some of the scores, there've been some absolutely blowout games and some scores that have just been insane. Also, I suppose that we have to talk about the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl and the massive punch up that happened at the end of that as well.
Yeah,
Did you manage to catch that?
yeah,
I
Just
watched
like,
I watched most of the Hawaii Bowl mainly for Jeff Reinbold,
yeah,
and seeing Hawaii obviously when Hawaii get to and then knowing he's on Sky Sports this weekend. It was nice to see Jeff Reinbold back for a couple of weeks. Obviously, we've had to wait a little bit longer to get him back on Sky Sports, but yeah, I watched most of it. I don't think I made
yeah.
it to the end, but I watched most of it.
Yeah, it just completely kicked off at the end, obviously, with the comeback that Hawaii did after being completely down and out. I think they were 21-10 down or 21-0 down at one point.
That was it.
To come back and win was insane. But yeah, there was just like a massive 93 against 93 ball at the end of it because somebody hit somebody out of bounds at the end or something. And it was all just kicked off. It was just
yeah,
mental. So,
It
whilst I
was.
just mentioned it as a party and atmosphere and everyone was enjoying it, those players were taking that seriously.
yeah.
I think for me though, the best part about the Hawaii Bowl was it started over here at what 1 a.m. Christmas Day morning.
Yep.
By 2 a.m. Now I'm picturing people. Cy Carroll mentioned it in a tweet, like the whole you've been out for a few bevies on Christmas Eve, like some people do. You
Yeah,
come
I
home,
saw that.
whack the college football on, right? What I saw at 2 o'clock in the morning made me like
Yeah. How drunk
I've
am
seen
I?
I've seen Cal a few times, never really paid attention to the mascot. I learned at 2 a.m. on Christmas Day morning that the mascot sticks pipes in his eyes and drinks.
Right? Yeah.
Now I'm
That's what.
picturing people getting home at 2 in the morning, flipping on the game and seeing this massive bear head drinking with pipes in its eyes and thinking, I'm going, no, I'm going to bed. Like
Yeah,
I'm,
it's either that's or more worrying. People have come home from the pub and gone, I've been drinking wrong all evening. Maybe I should shove pipes in
Yeah.
my eyes.
there's either
Very
that
bizarre.
or it's a bit like, no, don't worry, your drink, you've only had alcohol, nothing else has gone into your drink, you're not tripping.
Yeah.
There's a bear drinking through its eyelids.
Yeah. Are you
Um,
sure? Just so somebody didn't spike my drink when I was in the pub.
yeah, so and that yeah, that was for me, just 2 in the morning. So I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, but I need to go to bed, I think,
I
at this
really
point.
should. I really should at that point. I mean, there's a lot of plus points for that going on there because obviously it's like, hey, you're up, you're wrapping presents anyway. You got something to keep you occupied, but then you turn around, and you see that, you're like, freaking hell, what the hell? Time, yeah, the presents can wait. If I'll get up early and do them instead.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not my problem. That's not my problem. Mrs. Fletch doesn't like me to touch the wrapping because
You get
I
it wrong.
don't do it to the standard that is required. So I am to leave. It's the time of year where she's like, no, go and watch football. You go watch as much football as you want. Just leave
It's
this
just,
thing alone. Don't
yeah,
help.
don't touch
You
it.
help over
Don't
there.
need. Yeah, your help is not a help; it's a hindrance. Which is
Yeah.
a good, which
Yeah,
is
that's
which
it.
is a sensible way of doing it for any prospective new uh, husbands out there. First year, get the wrapping really wrong. You'll never have to do it again.
I was gonna say I can rap. I can do it fine. I choose not to for this purpose. And I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, love. I'll go watch football. It's fine.
Do that stuff. If
I'll
that's
do
what
the
you
I,
want,
things
I,
with
I
it.
can do it. It just takes me twice the amount of time as my wife. So she's like, I'll just do it because she can do it faster. So
Yeah.
just give it here because she sits and watches you going, oh,
yeah. Why is it
bastard.
taking so long? You're only wrapping a box. Yeah, sorry.
Um. But while we're here, well, by the way, I will ask you this: did any of you get any college football themed gifts this Christmas? Let's start while,
I
while
did.
while we're on the topic.
I
Shockingly,
did.
no.
Yeah, I did, and I was debating whether or not to wear it tonight. So I got a Malachi Tony Miami Hurricane shirt, which I'm saving for tomorrow. So
Mm.
hopefully, fingers crossed,
Yeah,
we'll win. Because if I'm a bit superstitious stuff like that, if we lose and I wear it for the first time, I'll be like, ah. But
I'll never wear it again.
yeah, it's going to bring me luck. Yeah, yeah.
no, fair. But no, you saved that for tomorrow. You still got your Miami stuff on. We appreciate it. Um, I will say you might have seen if you started on the podcast on YouTube, you'd have seen a little hat I was wearing, like a little American, like my head's in American football. Brilliant. Thanks to Mother Fletch for that one.
Nice.
I got a couple of little bits like got a Michigan trivia book. Again, shout out Mother Fletch and a couple other little bits like that. And do you
Nice.
know what? I can say a lot about my family are really good with. My mum knows I really like college football. So she goes out of her way to make sure that's the kind of thing she gets every year. So I want to shout out to Mother Fletch on this year because brilliant with the gifts.
Good job, Mrs. Mumfletch.
Mrs. Mum
Yes.
Fletch.
Um,
Close,
right.
close enough.
So that's my way of basically saying segue into as of tomorrow night at the point of recording. If you're listening on the day of release, it'd be tonight. If you're listening after the day of release, then to be honest, this has
Where
already
the hell have you
happened.
been?
We're kind of
To be
previewing
honest,
things here.
why the hell where have you bloody been if you're listening
Um,
now?
so you can listen through this and go, huh, you were wrong about that. You were wrong about that. You were wrong about that, which I know some people don't get to do very often because we just call things so right all the time, don't we, Gary? Um,
Some of us do.
some of us called FSU Bama way before it happened.
Yep. Pre-season take of the year, that one. Thank you very much.
Still won't give me the lottery numbers, but it's okay.
Ah,
Um, we'll start with, and we'll do what we did last time, and we'll go in order of the games as and when they're played. UK time, 12:30 a.m., half past midnight on the 1st of January. So technically New Year's Eve, but it's New Year's Day for us. It's just past the midnight mark. 12:30. Miami take on Ohio State, which is the primary reason we've got this wonderful gentleman on to talk to us about his team in the college football playoffs. In the Cotton Bowl, one of the classic, most prestigious bowl games you could have. I'll start off by saying the money lines, as per Bet365 earlier today. OSU are 5-18, Miami are 14-5. The spread is 9.5 in the favor of OSU. Now, take away my things. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to Miami. And the over-under for this game is a whopping exciting 40 points, 40.5 points. I know this is a
40.
pure all-out defensive affair.
Yeah.
It feels wrong to go with let anyone else start this game other than you here, Jimmy. What do you look? Not everyone's counting Ohio. Everyone's counting Miami out of this game for the most part. What do you like going into this game? Do you think Miami genuinely have a shot? And where do Miami have to be at the best in particular to try and get a win in this game?
Yeah. So yeah, I think Miami do have a chance to win this game. Not just saying that with my Miami tinted glasses on. I just feel like when we think back to probably week 4, 5, 6, 7 of the season when Miami before the Louisville and SMU game, I think we look back and people say, "Oh, Miami are the number one team. Are they up there?" I think they're ranked second or third at that point. Yeah, Louisville game happened, and if you look back and actually watch that game rather than kind of reading the stats and seeing the highlights, I think what you'll realise is that actually Louisville, when they came out, at one point, I think within the first quarter, they had 3 quarterbacks on. They pulled out all the trick plays. They really tried to, they really try to think outside the box at that point. Similar in the SMU game, obviously a couple of turnovers, but I just think Miami have kind of got themselves back on track over the last towards the end of the season, obviously last week as well. I think when you compare this team to last season's team, like obviously I think on the offense with Cam Ward leading that attack, Miami were absolutely fantastic. I think they're number one offense in the country at that point. But defensively, they were absolutely terrible. They couldn't capture calls back there. Whereas this season, there's been a bit of a flip, and I think defensively we've been fantastic. I think obviously that game last week against Texas A&M to hold them to 3 points at their ground as well was fantastic. And again, it's one of those. If you're just looking at the kind of the box scores and seeing actually Miami missed 3 or 4 field goals, I think. But I've seen people saying it was 30-mile-an-hour gust winds at
yeah. It was the weather helped or didn't help that game. Yeah.
So I think the first kick you can actually see the ball once it goes up, it just kind of veers off, and then obviously I think hit the post as well, and then another one which pulled to the left. So I think Miami have got the tools that they need to potentially cause an upset, obviously by what's kind of going against the betting lines and stuff. I think for me, Carson Beck needs to have a good game, keep it steady. I don't want him to kind of overextend himself or look to try and force it. I think that's a couple of times this season I think he's had 10 interceptions and 6 of those came against Louisville and that Louisville and SMU game. And I think at times he was really trying to force the ball into places where he wasn't necessarily making the right read. He wasn't looking at coverage, or he'd kind of locked on to that initial first read, I think, at times, which cost him. And again, if you watch back, there's a couple of those interceptions where some absolutely brilliant catches where they've managed to. I think one of them, the guy's literally caught up his fingertips just before it hit the ground and stuff like that. So. I got to allow for, like you said at the start, I think Carson Beck's about 25. I think he's been in college for like 6 years now.
Feels like it, doesn't it? Feels like
he's obviously Carson Beck's. He's obviously a bit of a veteran now in terms of that. So I think he needs to like I say, manage the game, not force it. There was a really good piece after the Texas A&M game. I think it was at halftime. Shannon Dawson, the offensive coordinator, and kind of come out after the game saying that him and Beck had a chat at halftime, and because of the wind, Carson said, "Look, we need to start running the ball a bit more. Obviously, it's too windy out there. It's not what we need. We need to try and keep it on the ground a little bit." So I think he's got that potential. There was all the stuff at the start of the season when he came. He's rich. He's coming because of his girlfriend. He's he bailed on Georgia, but since I've seen him at Miami, he's not doesn't seem to have been that kind of player. It looks like he's a bit of a leader. He has taken a little bit of responsibility. I know there was talk in the SMU game about the interception at the end of the game where there'd been a miscommunication between him and the tight end, and it came out that he can't throw him under the bus. But actually, when you watch the full interview, it doesn't actually sound like that way to me. I think people put a bit of a spin on it. So I think Carson Beck is my kind of initial key to the games. But like I said, managing that game, not forcing it too much, and really trying to just kind of manage the game and using that experience. Yeah. On the flip side of that, obviously, saying he's redshirt freshman, I think he is, isn't he?
Redshirt freshman.
Yeah. So has he had a game this big? What's he going to be like under pressure? I'll look at the stats. Some of the stats from that the conference title game, and Indiana were really able to put pressure on him, and really kind of he was sitting in the pocket, he was holding the ball for about 3.5 seconds, I think they were saying, and some of the stats. And I think Miami throughout the season have been able to try and within 2.5 seconds they've been able to constantly hit that QB and really break down that kind of offensive line. So hopefully, if it comes down to the quarterbacks, hopefully Beck's got what we need and that kind of experience. But Sayan's obviously been brilliant this season. Obviously, number one in terms of passing completions. I think when I was looking, and obviously he was in the Heisman race as well. I think he came fourth. I think in the end. So yeah, I think just looking at QBs, I'm happy to work through different positions with you guys and have a chat. I don't know if you've got anything to add about the QBs before I move on, but. Yeah, I think from my point of view, Miami point of view, Carson needs to have a clean game.
Well, I would say a lot has been said. I've been listening to some of. I know Josh Pate got into it a little bit the other day. He went down some of the position groups, in particular. Oh, look, he's finally shown up.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see you.
Apologies. Carry on.
I can't wait for you to go back and listen to this and listen to the 40 shots I've taken at Notre Dame already today.
He's used them all up, unfortunately, now that you've turned up. Yeah.
We've still got some left, Nick.
Oh no, I've got a bag of tricks over there with Notre Dame. Nick knows I'm never short of him. But I think what we're going to ask to Gary here is, again, if you look at the narrative on just about anywhere, it's as good as one for Ohio State. I think they're already many people considering Ohio State booked in the semifinals. What can Miami do when looking at the differences between per se? And I mean, if I go back to the Michigan game and how easy it looked for Ohio State during the Michigan game versus just how difficult Indiana made it in the Big Ten championship, what can Miami take from that? Because one thing I think Miami has that could be on par with Indiana at this point is a solid defensive line that can cause a lot of trouble and get Julian Sayin under pressure. And we saw against Indiana that he may not be the most effective. We saw against Texas, he's not the most effective. He's still a very good quarterback. When getting under
he's
pressure
a very good
like
system
that,
QB, if you can, utilize
what can Miami take, particularly maybe from the Indiana game?
They're going to have to. Yeah, as Jimmy says, that they can't get behind the 8 ball. They've got to stay in it. So that defense has got to keep them in it early. Because as you just mentioned, if you put it on Carson Beck's shoulders to keep you in the game, you're going to potentially struggle, and he may overstretch himself. So you need that defense to step in. You need a couple of stops early. You can't let Ohio State get ahead of steam up. So your defense, if you kick off first and you're on defense first, what you really need is a statement sort of 3 and out. That would be the perfect example. And then Miami just need to run the ball a lot. Just keep the Ohio State offense off the field is going to be, time of possession is going to be crucial. I think you can probably, if they're clever with their coverages and if they're able to kind of disguise a few things, give Saban some looks that he's not seen, or maybe seen, his reads are like, oh, you're in that coverage, but you're not, and they can flip their coverages. That might also help because, as you say, he's still learning. He's still kind of fresh out the box, so he's not seen a lot of football. You might be able to confuse him a little bit like that. I think we all know. I mean, it was an arm wrestle last week for Miami, and their defense came through. The weather maybe helped, etc., etc. They're not gonna have the weather benefit this time around. It's it's in the AT&T Stadium. It's pretty much a dome. It's going to be two teams, and they're really going to that they have to play their A+ game, I think, to keep at it, and they have to be within 7 at half time. If they're 14 down, or if they're 2 scores down, the risk then is you start to kind of chase the game. So I think from that point of view, they have to do that. They have to really get at him. They have to be really, really, really disciplined with their passing and in their lanes. They have to not give away stupid penalties. They have to make sure that if they are rushing, they don't suddenly all rush through the middle and leave, a leak out to the side and an easy sort of scramble. Make sure the pocket is, contained, because otherwise he's not great on he's not great scrambling, but he will if you kind of all go all out, all guns blazing straight down the middle, and you leave a 20-yard corridor down the side. Any QB is going to take that, so they have to be disciplined.
I think. Sorry, go on, Fletch.
No. You drop on that point.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I think, to be fair, thinking back, like I said, mentioned earlier about how much Miami's defense has changed since last season. I think one of the things that we've faced quite a few running, scrambling quarterbacks, if you want to call them, this season, like Byron Brown from USF and a few others, Marcel Reed and a few others like that. And I think we've managed to contain them pretty well. There's been a couple of times where they've managed to slip through, but ultimately there haven't been any, haven't given up many big players that I can remember off the top of my head just thinking about it. So I think, like I said, I think on the defensive side of the ball, I'm a lot more confident this year than I was last year. We'd have had this defense, but I think we'd be an absolute ultimate team this year. But yeah, I think like what you said then, in terms of just getting to the ball, obviously Bain and Mesador have been absolutely unbelievable this year. Lots to talk about. At one point, obviously Bain's going to win Heisman and all this kind of stuff, and it kind of fizzled out a little bit with that SMU and that Louisville loss. But when you actually look at his numbers, I think he's only got about 6.5, 7.5 sacks. But what he actually does, and if you actually watch some of the fouls that go against him that don't get called, he's getting past people. They're all over him. Just never seems to get fouled. But yeah, I think him and Bain and Mesador together, just the way that you always kind of on your toes. The QBs always seem on the toes in terms of which one's coming in. Okay, he's disappeared. Where's he gone? And then they've got that. Oh, actually, I can't see him. And next thing you know, he's coming up from behind. So I think with that and the way that Corey Heverman, the new defensive coordinator that we've got in this year, and the way that he's got that defense playing and how organised they have been, I think it's been brilliant. Can't complain. I think he's up for one of the end of season coordinator awards. I think it's the Broyles Award. I think it is that he's kind of in the final for. So it's an absolute night and day compared to last year. So that's been fantastic. Like you said, I think we need to bring our A game, but there's just so much to talk about. Obviously, Malachi Tony, what he's brought to the team as well, in terms of so he's 8 receiving touchdowns. He's had 1 rushing touchdown. He's had 2 passing touchdowns as well, where he's been playing that wildcat, or the Marley cat as they're calling it in Miami. That's kind of what they're utilising him. I think since that SMU game, they've opened up the playbook a little bit more, and they've put in a bit more trick plays, some more screens, some different kind of looks and stuff like that, which has really helped. Kind of utilised some of the weapons that Miami have got. Obviously, we had CJ Daniels, who pulled in that wonderful one-handed catch in that very first game of the season. Some people on here might remember that, which was a lovely catch. So there's lots of weapons, I think, in that Miami team that can be utilised. And I think one of the things I will say about that Texas A&M game was we seemed to try to go to Tony too much rather than kind of mixing it up and giving other people a look in. So I think if we can do that and have Tony as that decoy at times and people thinking, where is he? And if he's going out to CJ Daniels or someone else, I think that kind of gives us that the kind of extra dimension. And that's without talking about Mark Fletcher, running back as well, who obviously went for 172 yards in the Texas A&M game and just kept pounding, just kept pounding them in that third and fourth quarter. So yeah.
And this is, I want to say that you're mentioning the names now, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with this conversation. And I'm going to throw this one to Nick. How important, and then this is for both sides of the ball, because I don't want to sit here talking about what Miami need to do to beat Ohio State. At the end of the day, this is a football game, and Nick, I know you're going to completely agree with me here. Miami are here on merit, and Miami are in the playoffs because they're in the playoffs, right? So they're not there for nothing. They're absolutely a team that deserve to be there. So how much of the game is gonna come down to how Miami can get the ball in the hands of Malachi Tony and how Miami can get the ball in the hands of Mark Fletcher. It's still That's my dad's name. It still messes me up hearing him. So hearing his name get mentioned throughout a game. Um, and then similarly for Ohio State, getting the ball into Carnell Tate's hands, getting the ball into Jeremiah Smith's hands. How important is it going to be to see these guys step up? And I mentioned for the last 2 weeks, the last two times Ohio State have played is just watching how everyone considers Ohio State to be a Ferrari. And when you've got guys like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and the receiving room particularly, or even the defense that they've got, absolutely comes across as Ferrari. But I think they're more of a Jag because they they are a fantastic, they're a beautiful car and they can go very, very, very fast and play kind of the Ferrari role. But if you want to stroll through somewhere and show everyone just how good your car looks, that's what a Jag can do as well. And that's exactly what Ohio State can do with the fact that Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith more than happy to take those 4 or 5 yard gains, just get the first down and keep the ball moving, keep drives going. How important is it for both these teams to get the star players going and early as well?
Yeah, thanks for that opening statement.
You're welcome.
I think the thing is you don't play Ohio State at their game. You play your own game because if you go all the way back to week one and you look at the Texas Ohio game, Texas couldn't get their own game running. They couldn't get their own game going, and it was just left to Ohio State to just sort of impose their will on Texas, and eventually what will happen will happen. I think if Miami are going to have any success in this game, they need to rely on their own strengths and make sure that they don't fall into the trap of getting sucked in by Ohio State and doing what Ohio State want them to do. Just because Ohio State are showing you a 5 yard gain out to the left does not mean you should be taking that 5 yard gain because they have got a plan to stop you there. There is a 3 yard gain up to the right that you're not looking at. Take that. And I think it's just don't let Ohio State run the game. Put them on the back foot. Do what do what you need to do to maintain control. And I think that's ultimately, you said about getting a lead. You know, you don't want to poke the bear, but you kind of want to give it a bloody nose. And just make sure that you keep Ohio State in front of you, don't fall behind, and don't get sucked in. That's really the only way I can. You look at Indiana against Ohio State the other week. Indiana didn't worry about what Ohio State were doing. They played their game, and Ohio State couldn't come up with a plan to beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there, Nick, as well. I think one of the things that I've noticed about this Canes team this season in particular is they've gone about they've kind of stuck to their own way of playing. If you look on X, if you look on Instagram or whatever, that first probably 7 or 8 weeks when things started, when wheels started coming off that Louisville and the SMU game, there were a lot of people questioning why we keep running the ball straight up the middle. It's not working. And off the back of that, there was a change which was made in terms of, like I say, opening the playbook a little bit more. Brought in a freshman, Gerard Pringle. He started getting some carries and he brought some explosive plays. He was able to get the ball a bit more to the outside, run it up the out, run around the edge a little bit more and kind of move the ball up the field and get some explosive plays. So we've got the players to do it. mentioned Smith as well. Obviously, he's from Florida, and if so, a lot of some of these Miami players, Malachi Tony, Mark Fletcher, I think some of those kind of know him from high school and playing against him at high school and stuff like that. So it's not like he's someone totally unknown to him. He's just like you said there about that Ferrari. He's not like he's that Ferrari that's just pulled up. This is someone that these guys have played against in the past from a young age, so they know kind of what he's like, what to kind of expect. Obviously, he's probably gone to that next level now in terms of, potential first round NFL draft pick when the time comes. And so he's not, 16, 17-year-old kid in Florida. So I think they've got an understanding of that. And yeah, just looking forward to a good game. It's obviously the biggest game for the Canes since 2003, I think it is probably. But yeah, so I think, like I said, there's definitely things we need to think about. I'm not saying that we're just going to go out and just it's going to be a blowout victory for Miami. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I can see it's just nicking it hopefully.
Yeah, I mean that's where if we start to wrap this one up, if we look at, I'm going to go around the room, and I'm going to say, if you were to take money line, I forget what the odds are. You're taking money line, outright winner. You're taking Miami.
Jimmy is, I think.
Yeah, I guess I am. Yeah, I didn't know if you were coming to me first. Yeah,
taking Miami on the money line.
I'm taking him. Yeah, so I want to shout that to everyone. Yeah,
yeah. It's that I appreciate. I love the confidence. I genuinely, listen, I think I wonder why you think I appreciate, particularly in this game, some confidence on that side of the ball. But I rate it. Too many people will come on and be like, no, I just want us to keep into it. I really, really appreciate it. Gary, who are you taking money line?
Ohio State, unfortunately.
Nick,
I just think.
So go on. You can finish that point there, Gary.
It was just, I just think, unfortunately, as I say, I think Miami have to bring their A-star game 1 to 96 because I think just Ohio State, just a better team, just on paper all round, so that every single player in Miami has to be on it. And if a few of them aren't, and you can't rely on just your one big star and whatever else. So I think that's to me, I think Ohio State, they're there, they are there on merit. They are there as the best team, and therefore it's going to be a struggle. But I think they're going to be enough. I think they've got too much.
Yeah. Nick, money line, who are you taking?
Ohio State.
Simple. Just because Miami took the Fighting Irish's place in the playoffs.
Got nothing to do with that. I think Ohio State are the better team. I've said on this, it's got nothing to do with Miami. It's to do with the college football playoff system as opposed to Miami. Miami deserve to be there.
Yep.
I will. Oh God, I can't. Do you know what? For the sake of
there's absolutely no way you're going to say it.
It'll kill me to say it. And with all due respect, my dad plays for Miami, so I'm not going against my dad. Let's go Canes. I'm gonna throw up the U. There we go. Go. Next up is on. Geez, I do not know what day is it. Thursday. Thursday.
Thursday, yes, Thursday. Thursday is all the other three.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I mean, it's that between not knowing what day of the week it is anyway, and now the game's being played at weird times in the week. On Thursday, we will start with Oregon versus Texas Tech. Obviously, we had Adam in last week to talk about how they were going to clobber JMU.
And they subsequently did, strangely enough.
5 p.m. in the Orange Bowl. Money line is Oregon 20-27, Texas Tech 23-20. The spread is Oregon 2.5, and the over/under is the second highest of the round at 51.5 points. Gary, I want you to start us off on this one. I mean, you've got Oregon, who have a fantastic offense, and Texas Tech that has a scary, one of the best, if not the best, defensive front in college football right now. What's the key to this one?
Exactly that. It's quite a straightforward offense versus defense, and how many points can Texas Tech put up to put pressure on Oregon, and how many points can they stop Oregon scoring? By the looks of the money line, Vegas also thinks this is just going to be a ding dong, a la the Niners Bears, and just both teams are going to score at will. Who can score the most? I can't. I don't think Texas Tech can't go in it going, we just have to stop Oregon. They have to go in with we need to be, scoring ourselves. We need to be, proactive on this. So we need to be positive about it. Because if they kind of go in going, oh, how do we stop them, rather than how do we play the best game that we can, and I think that'll be their downfall if they focus too much on Oregon and not on themselves.
Yeah. What do you think, Nick?
I think between between David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez, you know what? I fancy Texas Tech in this game.
I don't blame you for
I just
fancying him.
I just think that defense is something, it's effectively it's the Houston Texans of college football. And you look at that Houston Texans defense at the professional level and how they will run over anybody who you put in front of them. At the college level, it's Texas Tech. Between David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez behind him, that is a scary combination. And the more I watch Jacob Rodriguez, the more I fall in love with that guy. So, I really think Texas Tech can blow the doors off Oregon and send them packing.
What do you think, Jimmy? I mean, I'll ask you this in particular. Like, the biggest test of the season came against Indiana, which they lost at home 30-20. The second biggest test of what seemed to be in the season, when they barely scraped by Penn State. Obviously, that turned out to not be as big a test as they made it out to seem, with Penn State going the way they did this year. But when they come up against a real team with a real defense, they struggled. Would you expect a bit of the same this time round?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with what Gary and Nick have said then in terms of I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. It's going to be one of those which kind of team bends first, whether it's Texas defense can kind of keep up with Oregon's offense. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, they were 51-34 against JMU, I think. So they absolutely smashed JMU in that last game. But I think it's just going to be interesting just to see, obviously, Texas Tech, obviously, winning their first ever Big 12 title. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm not really, to be honest, I've not watched much of Texas Tech. Seen obviously a few bits and bats highlight wise. So it'd be interesting to see what the game actually brings. And in terms of that Oregon offense, I think Dante Moore, I think he's a fantastic player. Be interested to see kind of what happens with him once he gets that ball throwing. Once he starts throwing that ball, gets that ball moving. It's good for it's a beautiful thing to watch at times. Just the way that obviously he gets his players moving around as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Like I said, it's that kind of is it going to be the attack or the defense which is going to kind of win the game? So I think this is a bit probably the closest one of the four games I would say to call.
Definitely. Well, I think it's definitely one of the top two, and they're all pretty close, I think, in general. Sorry, but I think one of the best games I watched all year was when I sat back and watched that Texas Tech BYU game. I'm a sucker for defensive. I'm a sucker for trench battles, particularly on defense. And I know they're like, anyone else I speak to will tell me that's the most boring game on the planet. But I'm loving watching 350-pound dudes just smack the crap out of 400-pound dudes. I think it's brilliant. And that was one of, in terms of defense and watching just really high quality defenses and trench battles, that was a brilliant game. It was amazing. And Texas Tech, obviously, both occasions they played BYU dominated that game. In that aspect, they are a really, really fun team to watch, especially if it's defensive and just how nasty they really are. They're nasty. And they will not have a problem beating up just about anybody on any given day. Um, which is kind of why I know it's been said that it'd be a shootout, but I'm a little bit surprised that it is as high as 51.5 because this could go down as a pretty defensive battle. And they're clearly expecting it to be a bit of a shootout because not only is it that high, but with Oregon having Oregon being not even a field goal in front in terms of the spread, they're clearly expecting it to run close and just keep scoring, which is I hope it's that kind of game. I really hope it's that kind of game.
I just can't see it
Yeah,
somehow. Yeah, I
yeah,
think Oregon they rely on those big splashy plays, and big huge yards and chunk plays and stuff like that. Texas Tech don't tend to give them away.
yeah.
And Texas Tech offense in the red zone is strangely pretty good, and the Oregon defense in the red zone isn't. And with the good defense that Texas Tech have, they're more likely to get better field position. There's so many, twists and turns and connotations, and 51 points seems about right. I think 25, 26 each, and something like somewhere in that region. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being 12-9 because Texas Tech just shut them down, but their offense isn't really that good either, and it's a bit of a nullification, fourth against fifth. You expect this to almost be the most competitive of the playoff games, and maybe they cancel each other out, and it becomes one of those games
Right.
where everyone thinks it's going to be amazing, but ends up being a bit of a nullification and cancelling of each other out.
I hadn't
Yeah,
properly looked at this yet, right? I want to run this through. Sorry, Nick, I'll pass it to you in just one
go on.
second, right? We're talking about the defenses. If you go on PFF, right, and I'm looking at the grades on the defense across the entirety of the FBS, so 136 scores, and it gives you defense overall, run defense, tackling, pass rush, and coverage. Five different defensive categories. Out of 136 teams across both the regular season and postseason, Texas Tech is the number one ranked defense in all five categories. They are the best overall defense, the best run defense, the best tackling, the best pass rush, and the best coverage. That is unheard of.
Madden.
That is unheard of, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, you talked there about the BYU games. Now, not so much the second one, and I know we talked about this on the pod, but certainly the first game, half of Texas Tech's success in that game was they just wore BYU down.
Hmm.
You hit a brick wall after a brick wall after a brick wall, and eventually you just run out of gas. And I think that is literally going to be Oregon's problem. When you have run yourself into a brick wall that many times, you don't have the energy to get up. You know,
Yep.
if you think about bring this back. If you think about the first Rocky movie, when when Stallone finally gets up, when Rocky gets up at the end of that fight and he's got that last round and he gets up and Apollo Creed just looks at like, what the hell do I have to do to put you down and keep you down? And that's essentially it. It is literally Texas Tech will keep coming at you, keep coming at you, keep coming at you. And at some point, you are going to run out of gas. And
Eh,
the Texas Tech defense will take all the punishment that you want to give them, and they will keep coming. So,
See,
Oregon can be Apollo Creed, but ultimately that Texas Tech defense is going to keep coming.
See, you want to put a boxing analogy like that, I'd go straight to it's that Simpsons episode where Homer becomes a boxer and he just gets punched and punched and punched until the guy is just going like that, and Homer taps him, knocks him down, and I'm like, that's where I'd have gone with that one. But
I thought you were going
no.
with Marge was in anyway, moving swiftly on. But
Yeah, well, but no, this is, and it's easy to understate. So it's easy to think we're overstating it, but the stats don't lie that this is the best defense in the country. It just doesn't. And Oregon may have one of the. I mean, even if you look at PFF again, I know PFF is not the be all or end all. Oregon's the number five ranked offense in the country, the number five ranked overall, third ranked offense, second ranked pass in the passing game, number one ranked pass blocking team in the country, the number 18th ranked receiving team. So there's a bit of that. And number one in the run game in the country, 17 in run blocking. Like the key is it is pretty much going to be for Oregon. It's they're best when they run the ball. Texas Tech are best when they're doing anything on defense, but they are up there at the best when they're with defense. And we've said this so many times on the show. It's got to come down to who runs the ball better. It's going to come down to who runs the ball better, Jimmy.
time of possession is going to be a killer again, because if Oregon, that vaunted Texas Tech defense is great, but if Oregon run the ball and keep them out there for 37, 38 minutes of the 60, they're going to be tired. And therefore, they will then give up some of those big chunk plays that Oregon live off of. And vice versa, if Texas Tech can get Oregon off the field and then do the same the other way around, it is all about time of possession and ball retention.
Yeah. While we say this, I want to go around the room one more time. We've got the money line. I'm not going to well, you can go last this time, Jim, when I throw it around the other way. On the money line, give me Texas Tech on this one. Give me the slight dog on this one. Nick, you taking money line on this one?
Yeah, I take Tech. I think Texas Tech are gonna win this game. Might not be by a big score. Might not be a big scoring game. I don't necessarily, like Gary said, I don't necessarily agree with the total points, but I think ultimately, come the end of the game, it's going to be Texas Tech that are winners.
Gary?
I almost want to lean to the Ducks for Adam and Neji's sake, but I can't see past the old adage of defense wins championships. And I just think that Texas Tech being so good and having a week off, look out, they're going to be scary. They're going to be all over that Ducks offense. And as Nick says, those two up front are just going to wreak havoc.
Yeah. Jimmy.
Yeah, I was going to go with the defense wins championship line as well there, but yeah, I think I'm going to have to go Texas Tech as well. I'd like to kind of go against Gary and Nick just to give it a bit of just so someone's going to be wrong or someone's going to be right. But yeah, I think Texas Tech.
It doesn't. We're all good, all being wrong. If you watch the last episode out,
we might all be wrong here, but yeah, I think Texas Tech. I think just obviously you reading out stats there in terms of number one being across 136 schools being number one in so many categories is just. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Whether or not they can do it on this big stage after having that week off, is that going to potentially be an issue for him? Who knows? But yeah, I think Texas is going to win it for me.
We've got two more games. There is more than enough opportunity to have some controversial takes given it. Or to go against some grains if you want to that no one will blame you for.
Just to throw it in there, even if you disagree, even if you don't really want to, you can just go, I'm going against
I think if you want to get throw something a little bit out there, these are the two games where you can do it and be be allowed to do so a little bit more than others. So next up, we've got Alabama versus Indiana in the what is for me the most prestigious, or if not the most prestigious, the first ever bowl game that is the Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Moneyline, Indiana are 20 to 49 favourites. Alabama are 2 to 1. The spread is Indiana 7, and the over under is 48. Gary, you seem to be our resident, knowing which games Alabama are going to lose expert. So I'm going to
Although I
ask you
said they would
this
lose
one.
the last time. Yeah, but anyway.
What do you? I mean, I think the question here for me is to start off with: are Indiana rightly a full touchdown favourites?
Yes. Yes. They are rightly that. They have been that good all year to be that favoured over an Alabama team that got into the playoffs, even though they lost to some shocking teams. And had their record at what they did. But it's Alabama, right? And they come with a special, sort of, I don't know, get out of jail free card for Alabama, if you like. But they proved it last week by turning up and turning over. So you can't rule them out. And Alabama are Alabama, and they've been there, they've done it, they know how to win these games. But Indiana have been so good. Indiana are that good, and as program of the year, coach of the year, you cannot look past them. It would be really good, and I know it's the Rose Bowl and it's prestigious and all that lot. It's just a shame that Indiana didn't get their home game in the playoffs. That would have made this game all the better. But I just can't see Alabama pulling off another upset and getting close.
No, I mean, I think they were lucky. They were lucky in the last round that their lead held out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to see another Alabama win. I really don't. It's bad enough having to watch these playoffs as it is. I don't need to see Alabama win another one.
Yeah, I think.
I absolutely agree with you there. What were you going to say there? Sorry, Jimmy. I was going to throw it to you anyway.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think looking at how Fernando Mendoza's played this last season as well, I remember seeing him. Kane's played Carl last season. I can't remember if you don't remember. It was Kane's ended up with a walk-off touchdown to win the game, and him and Cam were just like two gunslingers that game. I know there's a lot of talk about him potentially going to Miami in the summer as well before they actually got back in the transfer portal because he's a Miami kid or Florida kid. But yeah, just seeing how he's played this season and how calm he's been, how he's kind of dealt with the pressure. He's not necessarily taking the team on his back and taking them to where they've got to, but I think he just seems like a real calm, just reliable. He knows what he needs to do. He doesn't try and force it. He'll take those little check downs if he needs to, and just try and keep the ball moving rather than trying to go for those 30-40 yard plays. And I think just seeing how calm and steady he's been in the games I have watched Indiana play this season, I think he's won the Heisman. I think he's kind of my X factor in this game. And like we said, I who wants to see? I feel like Alabama have been kind of riding the luck throughout pretty much most of the season to kind of get to where they got to with everything that's kind of going on or gone on this year. But yeah, I think being interesting to see how Mendoza kind of performs in this game because he's been pretty much flawless so far in the games I've seen him play this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially when you look at the rivalry game against Auburn and you look at last week's performance, Alabama, they seem to just be running on empty, running on that last bit of gas. Yeah. And I don't, at some point they are going to come unstuck.
Yeah.
A cat has only so many lives, and I don't think Alabama have got that many. But, I cannot see how they can keep playing the way they've been playing, so hit and miss, and blowing hot and cold and still make it. At this point in the season, you need to be right up there, revving at top performance, not scraping through because you've got the tiny little bit of fuel in the tank and you're just blowing out your ass at the end of the game. So, I don't. If Indiana do what Indiana can do, I don't think Alabama have got a hope.
Yeah.
No, and I genuinely think Kurt Signetti is the better coach in terms of him and Kalen DeBoer. So when it comes down to it, I think, well, no, well, there's the number one fact that play calling as a whole is going to be better. I think Indiana are much more built to be able to take on a game like this, especially if it gets close. I know what, like you say about last week against Oklahoma. You can't get blown away in the first half like that and expect to come back every other week. This isn't the SEC. These aren't cupcake games. This is against a real team in the Big Ten. Yes, I will get some Big Ten propaganda in here while I can because I couldn't do it for the other team. This isn't just any other team that you're facing. You have to be on top of it the whole time. And I think the way some people are talking about, as we said before, the way Miami are going to go against Ohio State. I think this is much more of one of those games where actually, what can Alabama do? The key again, and I'm gonna sound like I'll beat at the same narratives all season if I feel like it's an appropriate one. Alabama can't run the ball, and you're not going to get very far against an Indiana team if you cannot run the ball. You got away with it against Oklahoma. You're not going to get away with it against Indiana. So, I'll go around the room again. Gary, you started us off. You can start us off again on this one. If you take money line, I feel like I know everybody's answer already. But if you had to take money line on this game, why are you taking Alabama? I'm joking. Who are you taking?
It's all fun and games to be blowing smoke off of Indiana's backside, but no, I'm not going to go there. Indiana are winning this easily.
I was kind of hoping you would do. Then I was like, this is Nick. Who are you taking in this one?
Indiana, and Indiana.
I'll join you all there in Indiana. And Jimmy?
Yeah, Indiana, and I hope we get to see you. Do you remember that when it Penn State game, that caption to win it, that way you managed to get toe down. Hopefully we see something like that. Yeah, but yeah, I just can't see how Alabama, like Nick said, they've been like stuttering for the last few games or at certain points during this season. I just can't see how Indiana doesn't win this game.
I feel like this is the game that we've been able to quickly gloss over. And kind of go for it. I know the next game is not going to be like that, I promise you. So I'll ask one more question on it just so we can get a bit more content out of this particular game. If Alabama lose, and especially if it's not like it is by 7+, is Kalen DeBoer in trouble?
No, because he's got them that far. He's come up against an Indiana juggernaut. He's got further than everyone expected. I don't think he's in trouble. Well, sorry, I'm saying that with a sensible sort of common sort of looking at it from a UK perspective. Whether or not the Roll Tide insanity takes over and they think, because they feel they're entitled to be in the final game every single year, I would suggest he's not in trouble, but who knows?
Yeah.
I think
anyone think he will be?
No,
anyone hopes he will be.
I was just going to say, I think if he knew he was in trouble, or if he knew that might be a possibility, whether you like this or not, I think when that Kalen DeBoer rumor popped up the other week about him in Michigan, I think if he thought there was any chance that he was going to be on the chopping block, I think you would have heard some sort of well, I'm concentrating on what I'm doing right now.
I'm
But there
not
was
looking at
just,
other opportunities.
yeah,
The
it
whole
was
I
just
really
no
am, but not.
slam door slam shut. I'm at Alabama,
Yeah,
and the door. I think if he knew that his head was even close to the chopping block, I think there might have been some. Oh well, Michigan's a lovely place to be, but literally shut down. No, I don't think he's. I don't think he's going anywhere.
He'd have been the one making very similar comments that Kenny Dillingham made.
Something
Um,
like that. Yeah.
yeah,
something along the lines of not shutting the door on anything, but being happy in a situation and focusing on the current work. I'm not looking
yeah,
at other opportunities. Blah, 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 blah. Whereas, as Nick says, it was like, no, go away. Let's not
yeah.
talk about it. It's he's not even. He's basically been given the you're sticking around. Don't worry about it. We're not even thinking about changing our head coach position.
But you, Jimmy, do you
Yeah,
think
and I
there's
think
any chance it could be in
no,
trouble?
I don't think there is. I think when you look back to maybe last season, there were a bit of talk potentially, obviously, whether they made the right hire after Saban had gone. But I feel like obviously they've had a couple of obviously started off with that loss to FSU. I think potentially, if that might be a different story. But I think again they've managed to steady the ship. Like we were talking about Michigan earlier on in terms of getting the kind of you've had what's happened. You need to have that kind of reset and refresh. And I feel like this season, despite some of the losses that Alabama have had, they're in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. Like Indiana haven't lost a game yet this season. It's good, there's that chance that can potentially they might nick a win. Obviously, none of us think they are going to, but if they
Yeah.
do, it's another step close to a natty. So I just can't see it. But there's college football is a weird weird world at times, and who knows what it's like in those parts of the world. But I can't see him being under any pressure. And like Nick and Gary said, then I think with potentially when that Michigan role came up and there was a lot more talk about him being involved and a bit more linked to it, we might have seen a bit more off the back of that if he'd have thought that as well.
Yeah. I'd go as far as to say I don't think he's on the chopping block, but I think his seat gets a little bit toasty. Because I think there are some schools where if you take into account the success that Alabama had under Saban and just how quickly they got used to that success, and as I'm saying, like since between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, they had some terrible, terrible, terrible times in Alabama. There's a level of, I think, not in kind of entitlement, and I think especially if you lose in a way that isn't the game goes similar to the way the first half in Oklahoma went. I think you're looking at a team, or the first quarter in Oklahoma went per se, and it's not a pretty game, and Indiana are pretty comfortable throughout the game. I think Kalen DeBoer enters next season with a we need to see an SEC title. We can't just see we need to see when you play Georgia, you can't be getting blown away by that team by Georgia. You've got to be much more competitive against Georgia and much more competitive in those games. You got to. So yeah, I think for me it would be a case of no, I don't think he gets fired, but I do think Alabama head start to say, listen,
Yeah,
we need to see something even better next year, or we're not going to be very happy. Final game in terms of the quarterfinals is Ole Miss versus Georgia in the All-State Sugar Bowl. And here's the one where I'm like, I reckon we could get some very different opinions in this game, potentially. The money line, Georgia are 20-49. Then we've got Ole Miss 2-1. Georgia 6.5 favorites. And the over-under is the highest of the whole entire quarterfinals at 55.5. This is an 8 touchdown game, according
yeah.
to Bet3, according to Vegas. Nick, at least one SEC team is going to make it into the semi-final. Who do you think it's going to be? Is it are Georgia as clear favorites as as Vegas would have you believe? Sorry.
Well, I think you know, I think when you've engineered it so that you get as many SEC teams in as you can,
There it is.
because
There
of
it is.
who picks them. I would say they'd be very disappointed if they don't get don't get the required number in. I do believe it could be a high-scoring game. I do believe it could be, tit for tat and touchdown for touchdown. But I'd be more confident in Ole Miss if they still had Kiffin there.
Yep.
That's not to say that I don't believe in the current regime, because we talked last week, Fletch, or the week before, about the fact that, LSU have loaned the coaching team that Kiffin took with him back to Ole Miss for these playoffs. So, I just think the Kiffin departure and everything else, it's probably disturbed the rapport in the team. And while I think it could be a good game, ultimately probably Georgia are going to come out on top.
Yeah, Jimmy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I'm more leaning towards Georgia winning, but I think with everything that went on with the way that Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss, I think I'd just like to see Ole Miss just win this game, just as a way of kind of saying, here's two fingers to you. You've left us at this point in time. I think this is the furthest they've ever got in terms of progress in the history of the university. So just thinking, I'd love to see Ole Miss now. Just I don't know about you guys, but yeah, there's something about Lane Kiffin when I just see him, I just think
you just want to punch him in the mouth, didn't you?
Yeah, it's just there's just something about him. It just gives off just some dodgy vibes. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'd like to
tell us how you really feel there, Fletch.
They're not my words.
I think Ole Miss. I think their offense has been pretty high octane this year. Lane Kiffin there. Obviously, it's changed slightly now, or potentially it's going to change. But I just think, does that galvanise the team when you've got yourself into that position where you're in that kind of final 12, your head coach is gone, you're potentially 4 games away from winning a national championship. Is that kind of the glue that brings everyone together, thinking, actually, there's two fingers for you there, and
yeah.
Does that kind of play into or factor into anything moving forward? I know that they've, I think Georgia won in the regular season, didn't they, when they played? So I think it was a pretty tough game. So yeah,
it was a weird game. It was a weird game, to be honest, when they played, because I think what happened when they played regular season was they came in and Ole Miss came in and just blew them. They just literally as you say, high octane went after them. And it was 70. I think they were up by a bucket load, but then faltered towards the end, and Georgia's physicality just kind of ground them down, and then they came back like unanswered points in the third or fourth quarter and ended up winning. I think they went 17. They get 17 unanswered points to come back in the end of it. So if there's anything to go by, what usually happens is if you lose in a regular season, you learn a lot about the opposition and whatever else, and you turn that script around. Now, the flip side is, obviously, as you said, the head coach who lost in the regular season is now no longer there. So that script and all the stuff that they learned, have they managed to keep that in the house, et cetera, et cetera? It's interesting because Georgia's kind of flipped in the last tail end of the season, whereby their offense was good and the defense was kind of figuring it out. And it's kind of flipped the other way now. The defense is actually much stronger, but the offense is kind of stumbling and not really producing a lot. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Georgia are just going to roll this because they haven't got the head coach, blah, blah, and all the changes that has happened at Ole Miss. I think you're right. The Ole Miss galvanizing siege mentality, screw this lot, because our coach has left it, we got us here. It's the players that are going to get us through to the end. Therefore, that galvanizing, let's take on the world, it's us against the world sort of mentality, I think is really going to come to the fore. And I think they've got a chip on their shoulder and a point to prove. And I just think that Georgia offense has just sputtered at the wrong sort of time. So I think if the defense can keep Ole Miss quietish, I don't think you can. They're never going to keep them quiet, but not allow them to just literally go out and score on the first 4 or 5 possessions. Then it's going to be a game. But I also got a feeling if Ole Miss come out and just go, right, let's go at it and go for it and get after Georgia, then I think an upset's on the card here.
Yeah, that was a really fun game between the two earlier this year. And I think when we were reviewing
The
the week
quintessential
after,
game of two halves, one of those
yeah,
ones again,
but it was also one of them. I think when we reviewed the game, the episode after that week, 80% of the talk was the fact that Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin were together at Alabama. They were really good friends, and Kiffin was calling Kirby Smart fat all over social media and in press conferences, and Kirby Smart was taking digs back and how they're good mates and the other. And that was a good chunk of it. And also, I know he's a massive fan of the show. Kirby Smart listens every week. Obviously he was texting me before, obviously. Um, that's obviously a lie if anyone thinks I'm genuinely being serious. But I just need to remember, just in case he does listen to the show, Kirby Smart, remember that is not a clap. That is a timeout. That is a clap, not a timeout. Right? Because that was the story of the last game. At the end of it was Kirby Smart's did he clap, did he timeout, did he whatever, and we all saw him. We all saw him do a timeout when he said he did a clap. It's gonna be a fun one. It has to be an offensive one, and I think part of one thing I want to pull back to what Jimmy said though before was this for Ole Miss is almost a redemption. Not quite a redemption, but kind of like a redemption in the sense that they're out there to prove that it wasn't Lane Kiffin per se who did it, that they are good in it. They had that record because they deserve that record. Paul Golding is absolutely going to be going out there and wanting to show the world that he is that Ole Miss will be just fine, and Ole Miss will continue to go without him, and this team will be successful, and that's what I want to see. I want to see Ole Miss continue to be successful. Paul Golding seems just like the type of guy you'd want to go for a pint with, and just you could catch yourself going down for one pint, and 5 pints later you're still talking about football and matchups, and they're the type of people you want to see successful because you can almost see yourself as that kind of person. So I think for me, it does come down. It's going to come down to just a really nice offensive game that should be perfect for. It's 3:30 in the morning. You're saying I kind of want to go to bed now. I had a late one last night. It was New Year's Eve. Need some sleep, but it's 27:27, and there's 4 minutes to go. I can't go to bed yet. I just can't do it. I can't.
Just can't.
So that's the game you want. I think that's more or less. It's going to come down to what game does everybody like. That's the game you want to see. And given the time, go around the room one more time. Nick, you can start us off this time. Money line, Ole Miss or Georgia?
I'm going to go Georgia. I think, like I said, I just think at the end of the day, it's going to be one step too far for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Georgia as well. But one thing I've known with Georgia as well this year is just speaking to Chapman as well. Georgia like to make things hard for themselves. Apart from when they played Alabama, and Alabama were like, "No, we're not going to let you make it hard for yourself. You go have a nice day out."
They already knew they were in because they already knew the inside track.
So give me Georgia, but let's have it a proper close game again, just as good as the one we had earlier in the season. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ole Miss on this one. I think just for I think that hopefully that squad's galvanising together away from Lane Kiffin and Trinidad Chambliss as well. It's my favourite name of any player in the college football this season. I just love it. It just rolls off the tongue so well.
Not General Booty. No, you're not a General Booty guy. What about you, Gary?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, lovely.
Ole Miss.
So
I think they're just. I think their offense is going to be a little bit too high powered for the Georgia defense to contain, and I just don't think that the Georgia offense is firing all cylinders enough to keep them in it. And
lovely.
the FU Lane Kiffin aspect.
Fuck. Did anyone see, by the way, just before we wrap up, one of the best Christmas presents I saw hit social media? Someone's, I want to say, no, it was they were someone's aunt was a Tennessee fan. They're an Ole Miss fan, and their aunt had put together the "Fuck You Lane Kiffin" pack for him. It was just like, oh, we've been on this for a while. It's got a T-shirt that says "Fulk" on it. And it's like a water bottle that's great for throwing at people. These like golf balls that
Nice.
are great for bouncing off it. It was a fun little thing on social media that I saw. Um, so listen, I think a good chunk of that country wants Ole Miss to win, just because the good chunk of the country does not like Lane Kiffin. Tennessee fans are pretty up there in that group of people as well. Um, I think that's just about it. So without just before we go, I'm gonna say, Jimmy, would you give us one more chance? Tell everybody where they can find you, what kind of stuff you've got coming, and if you've got anything else coming up on the website that you um want to give people a nod to as well, just so they know what to expect.
Yeah, cheers, Fletch. Yeah, so Canes Across the Pond on most social media. It's Canes X the Pond on X or Twitter if you're still old like me and you call it Twitter. Yeah, just keep checking back. Hoping to have a little bit of a preview about the Miami Ohio game go out on New Year's Eve. So yeah, probably already
Yeah.
out by the time you guys listen to this. And just see what happens after the new year and see how far Canes can go before I decide on what else is happening. But yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. We should have for the semi-finals, should unfortunately, if Jimmy's Canes do not make it through the quarterfinals, we have a bit of a blockbustery type thing as two Hurdle the Line hosts will be joining us. One's a Georgia fan, one's an Ohio State fan. Both of them are very, very good friends. They won't be for a few hours in a couple of weeks, though, if that's the
It'll
case.
be a fly on the wall for that one.
So listen, we're getting all the social media clips ready for that one. But that's what's coming up. Obviously, we'll be back with this semi-final preview on the 6th of Jan, I think it is, that we'll be recording. Next day it'll be out. Leaves us without further ado saying a huge thank you to Jimmy for turning up. We asked you about a week
Nice one,
ago. You
Jimmy.
were able to make the time for us and join us. All the links to find everything Jimmy's doing, everything Canes Across the Pond are doing, and follow them on social media will be in the description of the episode. Head While you're in there, join our free to join Discord server, and yeah, find us and everything that we're doing on social media. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Nick, for joining me this week. Enjoy the
Thank you, boys.
playoffs.
Enjoy
And
the playoffs.
before we
Happy
go,
New Year, all.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year.